What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ and Buck with you. Buck, what's going on, dude?
Not too much, DJ. Like, man, you sent me an advanced copy of that top 50. I'm over here just salivating at these conversations that we're going to talk about because, man, got some spicy things that are going on up here.
Yeah, we can hit on this thing here today. A little bit shorter episode coming your way, but a little top 50 review here. And I'll start you off here at the very top, Buck. Didn't change anything. Fernando Mendoza. I thought about it. I mean, I've said Mendoza, I've had him as the top player in the draft through the whole process. I'm going to just continue to ride that out. Spoiler alert, I do have a little higher grade on Jeremiah Love, but I put him at 2. He stayed there. So I got Mendoza 1, Jeremiah Love 2. Styles, I think I had him at 5. I moved him up to 3. So I moved him up ahead of the edge rushers. I just thought he's such a rare commodity. Like, you just don't see guys at that position that do everything that he does. I think he's a total outlier freak show. So he is 3 for me. Bailey State is my top edge. He's 4. 5 is Arvell Reese. I'm still listing him as an edge. I know people have talked about, does he play off or on? I just think he has the upside for more impact on the ball. Carnell Tate moved up a spot. That 40 time, I could care less. And there's all this discussion, what it was in the 4.4s, 4.5s. He's easy. I'm not worried about him. Ruben Bain, I think I dropped 1 spot with those arms. So it was not a surprise that his arms came in really short. Knew it going into it. I think he's one of those rare guys that can overcome it. So he's 7. Caleb Downs at 8. I think I flipped him and Delane, Mansour Delane, a little smaller than I thought. So that was enough to just, they're right there, 8, 9, 9, 8, whatever. So I've got Downs at 8, Mansour Delane 9, and Maui Noah, the big tackle from Miami, is 10.
Yeah, no, I think it was interesting, right? And I'm going to take the view of the fan. It's interesting to see mock drafts where we have the tackles up there, but then the tackles not necessarily included at the top of the charts when it comes to your top 50 lists. The other part that stands out to me is Sonny Styles, because I have this thing beating into my head, like off-ball linebackers aren't valued at that unless they can rush the passer. But then he has not only a phenomenal workout, but he's a rarity at a time where everyone is looking for the jack-of-all-trades safety that can play in the post, play in the box, do a bunch of things. You have a 6'5", 244-pound former safety who's playing linebacker who can hit, run, and cover with Olympic-like traits. He's like an Olympian when it comes to speed, quickness, and those things. The only thing that I worry about, because I'm going back and I'm looking at my notes on Sonny Styles, is, man, I just wonder why the production and impact doesn't match all of the things. And some of that is defense. And I think that's going to be the big part. Can you confidently build a plan to maximize who this guy is? And I'm not saying that he's this player, but I remember the conversations that we had about Isaiah Simmons years ago, and it never quite worked out. I think the thing in Sonny Styles' favor is he is a linebacker. He's always been a linebacker per se, like in this defense the last couple of years. And I think it's an easier path to get him on the field and have a clear plan for how he's going to impact the game compared to Isaiah Simmons, who also had freakish ability.
Yeah, I think I think there's enough production there. 24, he had 100 tackles, 6 sacks, 10.5 tackles for loss, 5 PBUs. This year, okay, the tackles, 2 fewer games because they didn't win the national championship. Right. So 14 games, 82 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, had a sack, had a pick. So I mean, he's making plays there. It's just, man, they have such a dominant defense and such a good group that it's a combination. And we've talked about this with good teams over the years. It's a combination of, well, there's other good guys you got to beat to the football. They got to get past the line of scrimmage in order to get to you. And then there's also that we're beating the brakes off teams, so we're not playing a full 4 quarters in a lot of these games. So
yeah. I mean, that is true.
I think he meets the threshold. And this is the conversations we'd have in the room. Bring up a question, try and answer it. Like, okay, I think that's enough. I think that it's not like he's got 45 tackles out there. And
that's good. I think David Bailey as a top 5 guy, that's cool.
Yeah.
I think the questions about Arvell Reese, I think people have to have a clear plan for how you're going to play him. We've seen a ton of athletes where they go somewhere they don't have a plan. I think you have to make a decision on day one, year one, where we're going to play him at primarily. And then what can we add on this play? Is he an off-ball linebacker first? Is he an edge rusher first? I think that decision has to be made, and then you can value him appropriately on the board. Carnell Tate is interesting, right? Because, and this I would say is the bad thing about the combine, because the combine has a bit of a track and field meat to it. It feels like a
Yeah.
track meet, right? Sometimes a really good player can get lost in the sauce by all these guys that are blitzing the track. And the reported, whatever, 4.54, 4.54, 4.57, whatever that is.
Yeah.
In the stands, it's always going to be different when we got the handhelds. He's plenty fast enough. We see the speed on tape. It's just interesting the perception that hovers over him now because there were so many other fast wideouts that he appears to be a slowpoke, even though most of us would say, hey, man, this dude is the best, if not one of the top 3 in the draft class, hands down.
So I don't know if you've had a chance to check this out yet. I'll send you the link to it. But the NFL.com/IQ. So the NFL IQ is all set up there now. So you can go in there and you can look at it's incredible, dude. I've been playing with this thing for a couple of days, but you can go through and you can find all the information on the teams up, the rosters in there. They'll have their AAV, like what's their average annual value from a salary standpoint. It'll have the age of their players on their roster, have all their draft picks, their needs. Then you can go through the draft class and they have all the data in there. So like I'm pulling up wideouts right now and looking at their MPHs. So you can look at their miles per hour on their 40. And they're eventually going to have the numbers in there through their workout as well. But so you look at like how fast is he running from that standpoint? Carnell Tate hit 22.68, so 22 miles per hour, which is actually the person right below him is Skylar Bell, who ran 4.4 flat. He hit a faster miles per hour than Chris Brazel, who ran 4.37. So to me, it's like that's where you get to the track thing, and that's just the start. Like he's just obviously not getting the same, the same start, and I can see that I'm sure in the 10. So when you look at going through all this data, which is kind of fun to comb through. So he had a 1.6110, and then you look at Skylar Bell right behind him had a 1.53. So that's why he ran 4.40, but he ran 4.53, but the eyes didn't deceive you. When you're watching the tape and you see him separating vertically, he can run. He's just not a starter. He's a build speed guy down the field. He's a vertical guy.
Yeah, we talk about striders and how guys kind of gain ground down the field and can blow past you. The other thing that we do know, DJ, and you've talked about it when it comes to drafting, the Rams have been able to line up and use GPS stuff and being able to get that. So as much as we obsess over these 40 times, guys kind of know who can run and what they're topping at anyway. Tate is interesting. Some of these other guys are interesting. But yeah, man, if you're big, physical, with ball skills, and you're fast, it's not going to be a problem. He's plenty fast enough.
All right, let's get to 11 to 20 here. So we get to 11. Makai Lemon didn't really move him much on here. He stayed there. Venga Ioane is he's at number 12, guard from Penn State, followed by Sadiq, tight end from Oregon. I have Fano has not moved. He's still my 14th. The only thing that moved was his designation. I just kicked him. I said he's going to be an interior guy. So I put him as an interior guy instead of a tackle. Jermod McCoy goes to 15. McNeil Warren from Toledo. He's at 16, about where he was. Thieneman moved up a few spots right behind him. I'm gonna put those guys as kissing cousins right next to each other, and we'll get there. We're going to really dig in on them and sort that one out. But I'm going to let them travel together here at this point in time. Omar Cooper Jr., who ran great. He's 18, followed by Blake Miller at 19, the tackle from Clemson, and Freeling from Georgia is at 20. You'll see the theme as I go through this list, Buck. I had 7 offensive tackles. 6 of them I moved up. 6 of them.
Yeah, there's another thing when it comes to that. I think you're a believer that, hey, man, we're all going to the pool together, so get a buddy.
Yes.
I noticed that we got guys traveling together.
Yep.
I noticed we got Blake Miller and Monroe Freeling. No. Hold his hand. We're going to the pool together. You don't leave him.
2 by 2 getting on my top 50 list.
I noticed we have some of these guys traveling together because, hey, I don't know. We may do a flip. But the offensive tackle class is interesting because early going into the combine, we were talking about, man, like this is a right tackle heavy class, which is so odd for us as scouts because we always value the blindside guy over the right tackle. But this year is just different with Maui Noah and Fano and those guys haven't played extensively on the right side. Then you look at some of the other guys on the backside, Blake Miller really being up there, because I feel like people have talked about Blake Miller, but we haven't fully given
I
him
got a
his
lot
due.
of grief when my first list came out and I had Blake Miller in the mix. And then
So,
I think everybody's starting
DJ,
a chance to see him. And it's like, oh, wait, 54 starts, outstanding measurables.
Yeah.
Like
everything. Like, I think he had 3,800 snaps during his time.
He had pass blocking snaps, 2,182 pass blocking snaps.
Yeah, 3,700 offensive snaps. And I have talented technician. Like, everything. DJ, I wrote down, he's a skip pulling specialist. There's no one that skip pulls better than Blake Miller, because he's had a lot of time on task to do it. He has violence to his game. Yeah. Like, the way that he finishes on the perimeter, he's good. Tone setter, everything. I wrote down, because I felt like people weren't talking about him, underrated, but he's the prototype.
Yeah,
he's a guy
going in the first round, man. I've been speaking it from the mountaintops.
He's good. And I think because his buddy's traveling with him, Monroe Freeling is interesting because, look, man, you just don't see athletes like this. And I know we talk about a 1-year starter, and there's some things that pop up on tape. You're like, okay, he's a little upright, the balance, he falls off. But you just don't move like this, DJ. Like, left tackle, footwork, moving around, getting to the next level, all this stuff. Like, guys do not move like he moves. And because of his athleticism, because of the upside and all that, like, he's going to go. And the debate is going to be
he's got 909 pass block snaps. So over 2,100 for Blake Miller, 909 for him. He's given up 7 sacks. There's if you want to find bad, you can find bad. But the way I would frame it, and look, if you told me that Monroe Freeling was a top 10 pick in this draft as the number, and somebody made him the first offensive lineman in the draft, I wouldn't be surprised, because I know how the argument goes. I know that you can make the case in the room that, look, you've seen this with other guys in the past. You've seen it with like Colton Miller and even like Darisaw would be another one where it's like, okay, some other people might get out the gate ahead of him. There might be a little bit of some growing pains involved here, but we're all going to look up 3 years from now. And if we don't have him, we're going to look up and see him as one of the better tackles in the league and go, we should have been paid. We should have taken him. Knowing we're playing the long game. It's going to take a little while for him to get the experience, but it's going to pay off big. And so that's why I could see him. It wouldn't shock me if he was the first one to go. That's the case that you can make in the draft. To me, I tend to be a little safer. So I'm looking at Blake Miller. I feel like maybe not the ceiling, but it's a high floor. I know exactly what I'm buying. That's why I have Blake Miller one spot over him. But you're astute in your point, Buck. They're right next to each other for a reason, because I'm going to have to work my way through that little deal.
No, it's the same thing, DJ. I have Blake Miller with a higher grade on my list than Freeling. And look, Freeling's athleticism and all that, but like, there's something to the polish that Miller has. And I just think that we talk about floors and ceilings. Freeling can have a higher ceiling, but Miller right now has a higher floor. And we talked about, if this is baseball, man, you can win a lot of games with singles and doubles. Yeah. And I just believe like Blake Miller's a double off the wall all day. I've seen this play for a long time in the league, and I'm good with it. I'm very comfortable with Blake Miller.
Yep, that's where I have it. So we get to 21, Jordan Tyson, and I want to talk about him once we get through this year. But Jordan Tyson, 21. I've got Mesidor from Miami, edge rusher next, followed by Caden Proctor from Alabama, followed by Lomu. So there's 2 more tackles traveling together. Denzel Boston dropped a little bit to 25. We get C.J. Allen, linebacker, Georgia, T.J. Parker from Clemson, Cassius Howell from A&M, Colton Hood from Tennessee, and Avion Terrell from Clemson. Again, 2 corners traveling together.
I mean, those corners need to travel together. And so it's funny, right, when we talk about Hood and Terrell, because when I look at those guys, to me, they strike me as pro-ready guys. Even though the guys listed ahead of them, there are things that lead you to be like, man, I like this flash or whatever. But when I think about guys that are going to be picked in the bottom of the first round, guys that are going to really good teams, I look at both of those guys as, one, prospects who have full toolboxes guys who have enough experience that you kind of know what you're bringing into the thing. And I don't want to call them safe, but I'm going to call them like steady Eddie. I know exactly what I get them when I put them on the field. I'm confident that, like, hey, they're going to hold up their end of the bargain in our system. I don't need them to be heroes. They're going to just be the piece of the puzzle that we need them to be.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely. I think I'm feel really good about that clump of guys, and we'll get to some guys after him I like a lot as well. Jordan Tyson, I want to hit on him and also go back to the Jermod McCoy. So Jermod McCoy I had earlier. He was my 15th player out of Tennessee. I dropped him a few spots, I believe, but it's been over a year since he's had this ACL. He doesn't do anything at the combine. And then Jordan Tyson, what's the whole thing on him? It's like, gosh, the guy's an incredible talent, super gifted. He's not been durable. He hasn't been available. He's been hurt throughout his entire career. And then he can't go with the combine. Like, that's not a small, insignificant thing to me. When you're making a first round pick, and you've referenced it, Ozzy used to talk it all the time. Doubles. No strikeouts. Not taking risks in the first round. We got to have solid guys. Being available and dependable and durable is a big part of that, Buck.
It is a huge part of it. And I say this confidently knowing that, hey, man, Jordan Tyson is my favorite. I have him number one on the thing, but the injury history is significant. And it's one of those things that you work through. And, yeah, it could roll out and turn out to be in your favor if he goes, because his skills are there where he can move around and make plays and run routes. But I am concerned when these guys don't work out. And I'm not saying that I need to see anything, but, man, you can't give me something to feel good on, and I know, like, pro days and whether they get to the pro days or not, to me, to fully feel confident in making him wide receiver one, I have to see him work out, DJ. He has to work out so I can see it with my own eyes. I can't just go on the film because the injury history is so significant. And the same thing with McCoy. And even I would say McCoy more than Tyson.
He's had all this time. What's going on? Like, I got to get an update on that.
We've had a full year to recover. And at a time when it's always different for everybody, 6-9 months, people coming back for ACLs. But, man, if you can't move around and do some of these things, DJ, I have to go to the next one, even though it's not a guarantee that the next man is going to be able to get through the first 3 years of his NFL career without an injury. Just in the terms of mitigating the risk, I have to go to the next one.
Yeah. No, it's to me, it's just whether or not how safe you want to be. All right, Buck. We get next here. Inachor from A State. So he's the 31st player for me, followed by Keldrick Falk, edge rusher, defensive lineman from Auburn. Casey Concepcion comes in next. Then Lee Hunter. Here's the D tackle group: Lee Hunter, Peter Woods, Caleb Banks, then Anthony Hill Jr., followed by Ty Simpson at 38. I believe that, yeah. And then I've got Cade McDonald from Ohio State. And then I get to Jadarian Price there at 40, running back from Notre Dame.
Yeah, nice for Price to show up as a second running back on this list. We talked about the defensive tackles on the last episode where we had all those guys clustered together and coming together. But I want to talk about Ty Simpson. And I think the conversation with Ty Simpson is interesting because listening to the broadcast and hearing you talk about him throwing, look, man, you can tell he's a coach's kid because the footwork and all that, the mechanics are flawless. Like, it is clinic tape, it's teaching tape, the ball spins out and all that. But there was nothing that Ty Simpson could show me in that workout that would impact my opinion of him. The biggest questions that we have about Ty Simpson: size and frame, experience, and what led to the drop-off at the end of the season. Those are the things. He can't change his size and frame. He can't change his experience at a time when history tells us that someone with 15 or fewer starts, it traditionally doesn't work out well. And the fall-off, I need to know, is the fall-off due to an injury? Is the fall-off due to defenses changing? All of those things. To me, he's going to be a gamble, and whoever takes him, there's nothing that they can say that they were confident that he was the guy. It's just, hey, we're rolling the dice and we're believing that the kid will find a way to figure it out. Or we have a developmental plan that is going to buy him enough time that he's going to be ready when we put him onto the field.
Yeah, we'll have to see how the dust settles over the next week where all these quarterbacks land. I think that'll have a clearer picture of what it might look like for him as we head towards the draft. All right, Buck, let's get through the rest of these guys here. Zion Young is 41. Chris Johnson makes his debut out of San Diego State corner. Malachi Lawrence, edge rusher from UCF, he gets in there. Brandon Cisse, didn't get a chance to see him run at the combine. I think he would have ran really, really well, so that was a bummer. And then we have got Jacob Rodriguez, R. Mason Thomas, edge rush from Oklahoma, and then Keontae Scott from Miami. And we finish it up with Antonio Williams, receiver from Clemson, Chase Basantis, interior lineman from A&M, and then the last but not least, Jeremy Bernard from Alabama.
I got one for you because I didn't see, I overlooked Antonio Williams on the list. I have a prominent wide receiver coach, a buddy of mine, who has red-starred Antonio Williams as his guy.
Nice.
Red star, like, hey, this dude has the stuff. He's going to be terrific as a pro. I'm going to tell you, looking at my notes, man, I love what he's able to do. And the punt return skills, we talked about it. It really matters. The other guys that we have talked about, Jacob Rodriguez, we talked about his performance really confirming what we thought about him as a player. Brandon Cisse, in my notes, I wrote down Josh Norman because his game is a little unorthodox in terms of stylistically. He reminds me a lot of how Josh Norman was at Coastal Carolina before he became a Pro Bowl player with the Carolina Panthers. I'm in on him. Zion Young is interesting to me. We talked about him. I have down Danielle Hunter in terms of someone who can kind of be a much better pro than maybe he's shown as a collegian. He has length, he has size, he has toughness. He just kind of gets it going. I like him a lot. So this list to me is perfect. And then Price, some people already had him at RB2 before the workouts, but it's just so hard to find a big guy that has explosiveness and legitimate return skills. Legitimate return skills in the kicking game. When we're looking for bigger guys there, he checks off a couple boxes in terms of how he can impact the game for a team.
100%. Excited for him and excited for that next group of running backs as well. Your guy from Nebraska. We've got the kid from Arkansas. I think those guys are the next two running backs in whatever order they go. And we'll see, we'll see those guys get an opportunity at the next level. I think they're going to be really, really good players. But it was hard getting these last few spots. A lot of candidates for those last few spots.
Yeah. And that's what it's going to be. And we've talked about some drafts, like people talk about, man, the numbers 35 to 55, those players are like the same. I think this draft, you could expand that number out 35 to 65. You're going to have some similarities where guys are great and you can see them go either early to second, middle of the third, but it's the same player that you're getting. This is where the fun part happens because now we're beginning to get a general consensus on who the first round guys are. To me, the conversations happen on who are the day two guys that we need to know that have the potential for whatever reason to be stars, but they're going to be overlooked in the process due to whatever reasons causes them to be overlooked.
Yeah, no, that's going to be the fun stuff as we come down the home stretch here. Anything you want to add before we get out of here, Buck?
No, man, this is fun, man. I love where we at in the process. Begin to talk about the prospects and kind of get it going. It's fun. And then next week, once free agency starts, we'll be able to play better matchmaker because we'll see how some teams feel their respective needs.
Yeah, looking forward to jumping on that and having that discussion once we get free agency underway. So appreciate everybody listening. We'll see you next time right here on With the Sticks.